Key West, Florida, 1988. The mutilated body of Lisa Sanders is found in an area called No Name Key. After 5 years, her murderer remains at large. Detective Jay Glover of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department refuses to give up.
We're not going to close this case until we have someone under arrest for it and a conviction.
In his pursuit for any and all leads, Detective Glover has brought the Sanders case to psychic detective Noreen Rainier.
When I work psychically on a police case, I choose to know nothing about the case. And I do this for 2 reasons. Again, I don't want anyone to ever think I've cheated, and I really don't need any information.
Lisa Sanders had lived on Big Pine Key for only 6 weeks when her body was found here, savagely murdered. In a tragic twist of fate, Lisa had just triumphed over a battle with childhood leukemia.
She had many years of not being able to eat or swallow and having to be tube fed.
At 20, Lisa's leukemia went into remission. Her parents, retired and living in the Keys, invited her to move down from Michigan to the warm tropical climate. They bought Lisa a trailer a few miles from their own so they could remain close. On the night of her death, Lisa Sanders attended a party at the end of a desolate Key road.
Lisa Sanders in December of 1988 attended a party here on No Name Key at the end of No Name Key Road. At approximately 10 o'clock that night, she was seen leaving this party, walking down No Name Key Road towards where she had lived.
She had led a very sheltered life because she had been sick most of it. My feelings are that when she got to the party, it wasn't the type of party that she was accustomed to and wasn't exactly what she thought it was going to be, so she wanted to leave.
Lisa asked the friends who had driven her to the party to give her a ride home early. Her friends refused.
Approximately 10 o'clock, she got in an argument and left the party.
And so she started walking away from the party, and that's the last anybody ever saw of her alive.
Police believe Lisa's killer stalked her as she left the party. Within a quarter of a mile, they believe the murderer offered Lisa a ride, and she accepted. They then drove down this dirt road to this rock quarry, less than a mile from the party.
This is the exact location that Lisa Sanders was murdered. The attack took place. She was rendered unconscious. She was tied behind the vehicle, at which time she was dragged down this dirt road 2,442 feet.
The next day, on December the 17th, Deputy Roger Allen was out looking for Lisa. He observed some vultures flying in a rock pit area adjacent to No Name Key Road. He went to that location and discovered Lisa's body. She had been brutally murdered and dumped in the woods.
Detective Glover hopes this reading with Noreen Rainier will provide new clues about Lisa's killer.
Detective Glover?
Yes.
In her readings with police, Noreen is assisted by 2 of her staff members, a police sketch artist and a mediator who guides Noreen and helps police formulate their questions.
Jay, as you take these out, are these items from the victim or just from the scene?
From the victim.
My psychic work is psychometry, touching an object that belongs to a person or a thing or a place, and by touching it, you get images in your head, and you can describe things about that person, place, or thing.
Now, Jay, we don't want you to tell us anything about the case, but as Noreen, first of all, tunes into this victim.
Psychically, when I first start working on a case, I can become the victim, I can become the murderer, or I can just be Noreen. Somehow my mind goes to the scene of the crime and observe it. Psychically, I can see many, many different ways.
So what we'll be starting with is a pair of jeans, a shoe, and some type of jewelry, is it?
Yeah.
Lisa, 1988. I have long hair. I feel long arms and long legs, but thin. I think she was popular. I think she was more quiet and talkative, maybe even a little bit on the shy side.
Detective Glover tests Noreen's psychic ability with a number of controlled questions.
Do we know why Lisa left the party? Do we know
Yeah.
what caused her to walk away?
There was some either a fight or a very strong argument going on. Psychically, when I first start working, I look at the murderer. I see who's killing me and let the artist start drawing his face. Dark eyebrows, the eye itself would have some roundness in the eye. There's some length to the nose, or maybe that nose is more prominent because it's been broken. Lean muscles, either a tattoo or a scar in the upper chest. And I'm very proud of my body. I wear clothes to show it off. I feel more tough. When I'm working as a psychic and I'm starting to feel a lot of pain as the victim, my assistant will get me out. I feel more than one injury on her. I feel multiple wounds on my head. I feel some violence. Ouch, my head. As Lisa, I got a lot of injuries.
Lisa needs to go beyond the pain for now.
Before he dragged me, I pretended I was dead. Is there anything I've said already that you can give me feedback on?
Yes, there was.
Multiple injuries?
Multiple injuries.
And around my head area?
Yes.
Could you tell me now how she was killed?
She was, we believe, stabbed and also drugged behind a vehicle for quite some distance.
So I wasn't dead when he, oh, that's why my head was hurting me so much. And then I felt something up in this area here. Was that where the stabbing was in the upper chest?
Let me ask you, who picked Lisa up as she was leaving the party?
A Scot?
Any of these aspects?
A lot of the things you're describing about Lisa and everything are true. As far as suspect goes, some of the things that you're keying in on are right on.
What's really surprised me was she came up with some things that actually just floored us.
The Lisa Sanders case is a very solvable case. You just need the right lead. There is a suspect in mind. He's been in mind. However, working with the psychic, hopefully he's going to bring some real good leads and some connections.
As a psychic detective, I don't solve crimes. I'm just used as a tool by the police. The police, they're the professionals. They solve the crime.
Noreen Rainier did not know that Key West police have a suspect under investigation for the murder of Lisa Sanders. But amazingly, Noreen's psychic impressions independently confirmed all of their suspicions. Noreen also provided important new information that has helped police identify the murder weapon. But they've asked us not to reveal that information as it could hamper their investigation.
Coming up, a psychic detective who's helped find over 160 bodies. What's the secret to her amazing powers?
It's like a game with me now. I love getting a killer.
Next.
The use of psychic detectives in police investigations is still one of the most controversial methods used by law enforcement. There are those who refuse to believe that psychics are anything more than lucky guessers who get their so-called hits through coincidence. But there are also police officers who do not dismiss psychic detectives so easily, especially those in law enforcement who've worked with Dorothy Allison, a psychic with an astonishing track record. For 25 years, Dorothy Allison has been involved in over 4,000 police cases, solving murders and finding over 100 missing persons. Her amazing success rate has attracted international attention. She has worked on some of the 20th century's most grisly murders: Son of Sam, John Wayne Gacy, and Atlanta's serial killer Wayne Williams.
The only way I ever get involved is if the police call me. If they don't, I will not work on a case. I do not volunteer any services to any policeman unless I receive a written letter. With a single murder, you're dealing with a single victim and a single murderer. With a serial killer now, you're dealing not only with a smart person, but a very devious, cunning person. And then you've got so many people, so many visions, so many faces all at once.
Because Dorothy's psychic images are often abstract, she now works with 2 detectives who act as liaisons or interpreters for other police departments interested in using her services.
And talking to Dorothy, you have to sort of interrogate her like a suspect. She sees locations, and you have to narrow these locations down to find what you're looking for.
When the bodies of 33 young men were found in the crawl space of John Wayne Gacy's house in Chicago, Dorothy Allison was brought in to find the body of the one remaining missing boy, whose disappearance had started the investigation. She told Detective Joe Kozenzak he would find the body on April 9th, near a bridge by a river.
I was sitting at my desk, phone rang, it was a sheriff from a small county near this bridge. And he said, "You better get down here. We found a body in the river down here. We think it's that boy you're looking for." And I looked at my desk calendar, and it was April 9th.
My goal is to see how many killers can I knock down. It's like a game with me now. I love getting a killer. I really do.
If you'll ever see evil in a killer, it'll be in his eyes. In Dorothy's eyes, I see hope.
Sightings has asked Dorothy Allison to bring her considerable talents to a difficult police case in Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin. The disappearance of Sandra Bertolis has been officially classified a missing persons case. But the family and some investigators believe it is really a case of murder. Dorothy Allison believes that Sandra Bertolis lies buried somewhere in this vast field in northern Wisconsin. She's convinced that Sandra met with foul play. And now Dorothy has made it her mission to try to ease the Bertolis' family pain by bringing a murderer to justice.
When I feel the body underground, it only brings out the anger twice as much. To think that this child doesn't even have a proper place to be buried.
On April 24th, 1988, Sandra Bertolis left home for the last time. According to police reports, she went to confront a boyfriend who had lied to her about his true identity.
I feel guilty because I was the one that told Sandy that her boyfriend was giving her a false name and a false address. And that night is the last night that I saw Sandy.
Sandra Bertolis epitomized the best and brightest small-town America has to offer. She grew up in Menomonee Falls, Wisconsin, a suburb of Milwaukee. In this home video dedicated to her memory, you see Sandra, the youngest of 8 children, surrounded by the love and protection of her family. A circle of love that couldn't prevent every family's ultimate nightmare.
I hate to see what's happening to my family. We're all victims. It's very difficult to put on a fake face and say everything's okay. It's not.
I think now 5 years, roughly 2,000 straight days and nights. Where is my daughter?
Sandra's mother has kept a journal for the past 5 years, a painful record of the family's grief. But now there is a glimmer of hope through a renewed investigation spearheaded by psychic Dorothy Allison.
So what we've got to do is outsmart this man, which I intend to do before this case ever ends. I intend to outsmart him.
Without a body, and after exhausting all leads, the police have reached an impasse. The family is working with private detective Jerry Broderick to continue searching for Sandra. Broderick still consults with police as he pursues his own leads. He believes Sandra was murdered by a former boyfriend. For Jerry Broderick, this case is personal.
I am angry about what he did, as are so many others. There's no place he can go. And I mean, if he went to Bangladesh, this isn't going to go away.
Menomonee Falls Police Detective Charles Ducrot is in charge of the case. It was Ducrot who first made the initial contact with Dorothy Allison and first recorded her psychic impulses about Sandra's disappearance.
Together with Jerry Broderick and myself, we had quite a few conversations with Dorothy Allison before she came here.
A missing girl. Do you believe there's foul play?
She gave us several clues over the telephone.
I feel that she's in a place with a royal name, like either Prince, Princess, Princeton. I see a zoo. You say you don't have a zoo. It cannot be seen on the road. Big lions in it. A golf course, a round building. These are some of the things we were going to find near this girl's body.
Detective Ducrot and investigator Broderick were amazed by Dorothy's uncanny accuracy. They found the street with a royal name. They found the round building. She also mentioned a golf course, a nursery with the name Robbins. And then they also found the lions.
She's told us some very intriguing things, things that a woman who had never been to Wisconsin before couldn't possibly have invented or imagined. It just continued to fit like a jigsaw puzzle, snugly, piece upon piece.
The police felt Dorothy might be onto something. Sightings arranged to have her brought to this remote area of Wisconsin. When she arrived at the site, Dorothy was immediately overcome by strong psychic impulses.
You know, it may be a big area, there may be hundreds and hundreds of acres, but you just get that little television picture of the whole thing at once. You get everything at once.
Although Sandra's body has not been found, Dorothy has provided detectives with a location to search and probe. Dorothy is convinced Sandra is here, and that when the police find Sandra, they'll find the murderer. The police and Jerry Broderick agree with her. and hope their continuing investigation at the site will finally solve the case of Sandra Bertolis. Joining us now is Jerry Broderick, the private investigator currently involved in the Sandra Bertolis case. He's here to bring us up to date on where the case stands after Dorothy Allison's investigation. Jerry, welcome to Sightings.
Good to be here, Tim.
Bring us up to date on what's happened in Wisconsin since our cameras left the area.
Given the information provided by Dorothy Allison and the fact that we have focused on a site now, the excavation of that site and whatever technical means we might use to do that now comes under careful consideration.
Were you surprised at all that there was an openness to using a psychic detective in this case?
On the part of the police department, yes. And of course there's practical reasons for that. How do you take a psychic to court as a source of your evidence? It can become a very sticky matter.
Have you had any prior experience with so-called psychic detectives, and what's your attitude toward them generally?
And there are people who are sincere and want very much to assist families like the Bertolises in relieving their grief.
Jerry, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Tim.
And we will be back with more sightings in just a moment.
Coming up, in a Sightings exclusive, a psychic who may have located the body of a missing woman.
If you were able to see what I see, what you would be looking at is a movie.
Has evidence that ghosts exist finally been captured on film? Stay tuned for another episode of Sightings next.
A mother missing in rugged terrain in Southern California. A 2-year-old unsolved murder now at an impasse. Sightings asked psychic detective Nancy Zetley to help. She has worked successfully with the FBI and agreed to work on this unsolved case from her home in Pennsylvania.
If you were able to see what I see in my mind's eye, what you would be looking at is a movie. It's three-dimensional, it's in color. A lot of times, my imagery is aerial.
Sightings supplied psychic Nancy Zetley with a photograph and handwriting sample from the victim. Here is her startling first reading.
All of a sudden, I'm seeing a very hilly, grassy area, and it seemed very quiet, and I noticed that there was a shoreline very near. There's a big round thing, it looks like a foundation. I felt that they were on a good-sized highway, and then they turn off on a smaller 2-lane road. I have a feeling as I'm going up that road that there's a broken house there, but I can't see it. I can just sense it, but I have no idea where to place it.
Although Nancy had never been to Southern California, from her home 2,400 miles away, she was able to give the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department the clues that led them to this desolate area. She believes this is where the mystery of the missing mom will come to an end.
I feel that this woman was murdered. And I feel that she was murdered by someone who knew her very well.
April 22nd, 1991. Ann Race, mother of 3, dropped her children off at the home of her estranged husband and then drove to a local fast food restaurant to pick up dinner for the family. She was never seen again.
If she died, how did she die? It's not knowing. It's not knowing. And I know people die. And you miss them, and you mourn for them, and you go on, but we don't know.
When Ann Race's disappearance was brought to the attention of Sightings, we contacted Nancy Zetley. We wondered if she could provide the missing pieces to a sinister puzzle that has the Sheriff's Department at a dead end. Chief Homicide Investigator Louis Danoff feels the case is at a standstill.
Sometimes in talking to these psychics, what it does is sometimes it puts you in a position to reevaluate some of the information that you already have.
Our Sightings investigative team found an isolated mountain area that seemed to fit the description provided by Nancy Zetley from her home in Pennsylvania. After viewing our videotape and speaking with Nancy Zetley, Louis Danoff felt Nancy's visions warranted further investigation. Nancy was flown out to California.
The husband of my missing person had been a deputy sheriff, and his last assignment on the department had been in the Malibu Station area, and that the area that the psychic was describing could possibly be in that area.
During our on-site investigation, Nancy's psychic visions led the sheriff's department to this remote canyon. Since it's on private property, the next step is to obtain a search warrant.
What I'm going to do next is I went out to the site with the psychic, and I am in the attempt right now to identify who has ownership of the property. We'll hopefully be able to follow up on that location, if with nothing else than to run dogs up that canyon that was pointed out to us.